white people have a history of profiting off of other nations.
Absolutely. That's another thing that I would like people to be more aware of is the history of empire. The British Empire particularly, but European empires more generally. The surveys that have been done within the last few years show that a lot of people living in Britain are at best ambiguous, and actually some people think that the empire was a good thing. And I
Yeah.
think they knew the history of it more. I think if they knew exactly what was involved, if they knew the violence, the oppression, the economic sabotage that's
Mhm.
involved. One of the most powerful numbers is when the British arrived in India, the Indian economy was, I think, along the lines of a fifth of the world's economy. That is how much money and resource and wealth and industry was in India at the time. And when the British left 200 years later, India was 3% of the world economy. That is how crippling the empire was to India, not to mention how horribly the people of India were treated under the empire. And it's not all about railways and the postal system in the English language. The empire was something that was crippling to a lot of the world. And it's the same story in Africa as well. Africa was divided up like a cake by European powers, and they went in and they sucked it dry. We can't talk about Africa in the same way as we talk about India, even though we're talking about, in terms of population, it's about similar size. But within Africa, there are countries that are doing very well economically, and there are countries that are not doing well economically. And our ability to distinguish between those two is not as good as it could be because of this hangover, that this kind of racial stereotype that the whole of Africa is one country, and it definitely isn't. You can't compare countries like Ghana and Tanzania and South Africa with other ones like the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we need to be way more critical in how we approach these ideas. And also the idea of the white savior really needs to die because it's, first of all, it's historically inaccurate in ways that are unhelpful for us today.